We are playing catch up on our what sold videos today. So we are going to be sharing what sold in our eBay and online shops from the week before last. So we're starting off with a fun one. I picked up this World War II era. Of course, I didn't know that at the time when I picked it up at Goodwill, but it was a pith helmet, and I recognized what it was. I recognized the style as being like I'd call a safari hat. But what made me pick it up, I looked on the inside. It was made in India. So even though it was like super lightweight, I was like, oh, this seems a little bit more legit than just, like a costume hat or something like that. And then I was just kind of looking around. I think I did a quick search of EICO. I don't remember that I found anything definitive in the while I was researching. But as you like lift up that underlining, it was so interesting. There was this, here we go, paper with all this Indian writing. And I realized like the hat was made, it's like made of paper mache, which is really, really interesting. So, of course, I can't tell from the paper how old it was or anything. But then we got it home, did some research, found out the age. The condition was amazing. And so we listed it. As you can see, we listed it for 190. I paid $2. So we took an offer. Someone had messaged us. They realized their offer was a little bit lower, and so they just asked if we would consider it. And we considered the fact that we only paid $2. And so I think it was $120 that we sold it for. I'm scrolling down in my phone because it shows me my actual selling price much easier than trying to poke around on my screen here. So $120 is what I sold this hat for. $2 and $120. It took a couple weeks, but still very quick, very unusual. I'll be on the lookout. I don't know if I'm going to come across one of these again, but very, very interesting. So I'm playing with some new software here, so I'm going to try something right now. And I'm going to switch to this view, and I just wanted to do a quick shout out to a couple people who bought me and Mr. Pish Posh coffees. So down in the description under this video where I have the links to my stores, I also have a link to Buy Me a Coffee. It's my Buy Me a Coffee link. It's just kind of a place. Obviously you don't have to. It's just kind of like a way to tip us if you enjoy some of the information or have benefited from some of the information that we share. But we had someone was preferred to remain anonymous, and they just said that their name was someone. So someone bought us 2 coffees. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And then Stacy at Vintage in Montana bought us 4 coffees. So Mr. Pish Posh benefited definitely from that as well. So just wanted to thank both of you for that. So let's go back to our sales for the week, and we'll move on to eBay. A pair of Sorel Kaufman boots. They were just black. I don't even really remember where we got these. This might have been something my husband picked up at the bins place. And so we sold these for $40. I'm pretty sure that was one of the days he went to the bins late this year by himself. So I don't really remember picking them up, but he brought a bunch of stuff home that day and sold these for $40. Next up is hardware. We love selling hardware. It's getting a little bit harder to come across and to find. So it's always fun when we do kind of come across it. We used to sell a lot more. And this was, my husband decided to put the outlet covers all together into one listing, and we actually sold these for $30. Someone asked me one time why, like the eBay, why it won't show it or why it doesn't show it crossed out. And I think it has to do with, like, if you have best offer on your listing and you accept an offer, it might show it crossed out. But when it's like through the make an offer thing, it like won't show that crossed out. I don't know. All I know is it actually really sold for $30. And then this one, just a little sale. This is something my son picked up. He wasn't sure if he was going to keep it. He picked it up at Goodwill. So let's see. You know what? I shouldn't even included this one. That transaction got canceled. So I think we still have it listed, actually. Okay, Stegman Linns. This was a very interesting pair of clogs. Now, I thought these would sell a lot faster. I did buy them probably last winter, maybe towards the end of winter. But they have calf hair is what they're covered with, and then they're dyed. So they were dyed this kind of purple burgundy kind of color. So the brand is Stegman. Clogs took a little while. I'm trying to remember. There was light signs. Oh yeah, something on the trim here. Oh yeah, you can see it. One side is much more faded or worn just on that ribbon trim than the other. So don't know what that's about. But anyway, finally sold these. Took an offer of $27.99, or that could have been one of the offers that I send out. Next up, oh, remember these? Okay, so I was excited about these in one of the, let me go up here. I realize my little face is like on the picture. Okay, in one of my haul videos, right, where I love vintage, I found 2 of these. As you can see, I am out of stock. 2 of them sold. This one actually sold. The first one sold to a viewer. So thank you, Hélène. I appreciate it, and I wanted to say that the viewer who bought this, she is an Etsy seller and vintage seller herself, and she has a store on Etsy that I'm going to show. Inigal Vintage, if I'm saying that correctly, I don't know. She's in Canada. She bought the glass for her collection, but as you can see, she's a very successful Etsy seller. So I just wanted to give her a shout out, and you can go check out her Etsy shop as well. Inigal Vintage Decor. Okay, moving on. So I was super happy. Okay, let me go back to that. I have to talk about it because I did talk about this in my haul video. So it's Tiffin Madeira, and you know, I think I said some stuff maybe not quite right in that video, just on the fact that I have a brown that I use in my own personal, but mine is actually a different pattern. It's very similar looking with this like texture down here, but I was looking at it later and I'm like, that's not the same. So anyway, Tiffin Madeira, they were pale lavender, very unusual color, not easy to find. And I was showing comps in that video, and the comp was a larger, just a slightly larger glass. This ended up being less than 5 inches tall, like a little juice glass, and that sold. So I listed them for the same price anyway, because there's just hardly anything out there. And it sold for $40 for one. Okay, next up is a little hand tool. I'm pretty sure my husband picked this up on one of our trip back in early summer to Washington, the road trip. And I think it was Habitat for Humanity, possibly, is where he picked these up. He picked up a bunch of rustic tools at that sale. And otherwise, it's just something he's had. So there's no telling, because I forgot to ask him. Next up is the second one that sold, also sold for $40. So as you can see, I did a picture of how it glows under the black light, and use that in a collage. I have an app on my phone, Pic Collage, and I just use it for a side-by-side comparison, so people could tell that it had like an interesting, I don't even think I talk about, there's something in it, you know, it's not uranium, but now I can't remember what it was, but it goes from a pale lavender to kind of like a pink fuchsia color. So very, very interesting. And another tool has sold. This was Porter cable. Again, if you've watched my recent What Solds, you know, my husband's selling off some of the tools that he doesn't use very often. And let's see, he sold that one for $65. He took an offer on that. It was kind of a slow week. We, in our, here, maybe I can just show you. Let me go over here. Now I've totally lost my place. Let's see what happens. Okay, so this is my seller hub, and you can see my sales chart for like the past month. And you can see I definitely have these peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys. So we're talking probably right in here where the lowest ones are. So that was, you know, it was not the best week on eBay. So when offers were coming in, we were just like, you know what, let's just take them. Okay, so let me try to find where I was again. Here we go. So he took that offer for $65. And as Mr. Pishposh usually does, he does and usually start out prices fairly high. So we have that room to bounce around. Now this one was interesting because I thought he was listing this crazy high. So the brand of the mug, let's see, is Mir, or however you say it, M-I-I-R. And it's kind of a REI, you know, not hunting, like hiking and camping kind of brand. Like they'll sell it there, right? It says it's designed in Seattle. But what they do is usually other companies can use, you know, will advertise, will use the Mir mugs to advertise their company. So the brand for this is Mammoth, and Mammoth is known for, I meant to look this up ahead of time, they're a hiking clothing company, but fairly pricey. So I don't know that we've ever sold any Mammoth clothing, but it's probably up there like with Arc'teryx or something like that. So it, you know, I'm looking at their website, they've got hiking, trail running, climbing, mountaineering, snow sports, that kind of thing. So my husband put like $60 on it because he had seen other Mir mugs with good, like expensive brands on them sell for that high. And I was just like, are you serious? So I admit I did kind of doubt the man. And then a few months later, this sold for full asking price of $60. It was in really good condition, as you can see, and like maybe not even used. And anyway, it was in really good shape. $60 for that, and we've gotten good feedback from the buyer. Okie dokie. Eddie Bauer. So remember this from my haul video as well, and I remember picking it up saying, not that it was necessarily a mistake, but it was just I paid a little bit more than I should have. I paid $5 for it. And then when I was really looking at comps, because I just kind of bought it because I knew it was vintage. Fanny packs, hip, you know, waist belt packs are, you know, kind of back in again. I liked the color, condition was good. But then I looked at comps, and these vintage, you know, they're not super rare. And they were selling for like $10 to $15. And so I was like, that's not great. But at least I knew it would sell. But it sold very, very quickly. And my husband just ignored all that and put it on there for $25. So it sold for full asking price. So I really do think the color had a lot to do with it. Very popular 90s Y2K kind of color. And this one, I thought this would sell for more. It sold one time, and I think the buyer never paid. It's a vintage Patagonia, made in the USA. It's reversible. Again, I used that split screen. I think maybe just the colors were just not super sought after. As you can see, it's like fleece on one side and then windbreaker material on the other. And let's see, here's the old tags inside the pocket, made in the USA. So I ended up just letting this go for $65. I'm pretty sure some other ones have sold a little bit higher, so maybe the color combination made a difference. I'm kind of discovering that even though I'm drawn to like red clothing, that it doesn't always sell very well. So $65 for that one. And the last one on eBay for that week, very interesting, super fast sale. So yes, maybe it was low and we did take an offer, but I bought this piece of pottery at our local thrift store for $8. And it was one of those situations where Studio Pottery, let's see, was signed actually very clearly. And I could read Richmond, and I was like, a lot of times the signatures in Studio Pottery are not very clear. So I could see Richmond, so I looked it up, and it was like, oh my goodness, you know, there were pieces that were selling. And so I was like, that's amazing. I'm just gonna grab this. So it was it had a very unusual like faces design on it. I'm pretty sure the artist is from Washington. He's Bellingham area is I think what I realized or learned. And it did have, let's see if we have a picture of it. It did have like a little damage in the top. No, it's not showing up so good. So maybe in the pictures it didn't. Okay, cosmetic wear, no. Lid rim has 2 small areas where dark brown glaze has chipped off. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. It's not like showing very clearly in here, like in the picture, but I did get positive feedback from the buyer, so that was good. So it was not a huge piece. We sold it for $120 like the next day after we listed it. So I'm happy with that. I'm totally happy to turn $8 into $120. If the buyer knew something else and they were going to take it and then move on and sell it to somebody else, that's totally fine with me. You know, with the damage and then the size, it being like a smaller kind of pot, then, you know, I was good with getting over $100 for it. And anytime I can turn $8 into $120 within 24 hours, it all works for me. So let's go over to Posh and Filson. Definitely a name that you need to know if you're reselling clothing. And we picked this hat. I believe my husband grabbed it probably the same day he got those boots, but he got it at the bins at our little outlet center. We always look through the hats. As you know, that's where we get a lot of our baseball caps that we sell. For pennies, it's ridiculously cheap at that outlet store. So he picked up this hat, and it turned out to be a genuine Filson garment. Okay, it's a Seattle company. Their stuff can sell, their bags, everything can sell for really good money, especially vintage. So this was it's called a tin cloth, like a waxed canvas hat. It was a men's size small, and it ended up selling on Poshmark for $49. And then this one, we were glad to just see it gone. I think we had it listed since last winter. It's down-filled, which is good. Vintage Eddie Bauer, which can kind of slow and not super high prices, like we kind of talked about with the fanny pack. And then this also was supposed to have a hood. So if it had a hood, it probably would have done a lot better. And it was also missing its size tag. So we kind of had to guess on the sizing. And so that also makes it a little bit trickier to sell. But we got an offer for $41 on Posh, and we said, yes, please. Let's get this puffy coat out of my closet. Cinch is a Western brand, like Western clothing brand. And I find quite a bit of it here in Montana. And so it depends. I don't pick up everything anymore. This was probably something we've had for a little while, but orange plaid, it was so-so, but I got $21 for it and happy to move that on. And then I think I did share these shoes in a haul video as well. Nike, I paid up for them at Goodwill based on some of the comps, and they were like $25. I can't remember if I had a coupon that day or not. And they were Nike SB, so I've talked about that before, the skateboarding, but they were Stefan Janoski designed, or however you want to do that, whatever, I don't know. They're from 2013, and we found some of the colors were a little bit better than others, but with this blue Digi Floral, it was called, we shot for $70, and I believe, yeah, this was the full price. Someone just came in and paid the full asking price on Poshmark. He said I got a message afterward that he was buying them as a gift, and asked me to change the address, which the nice thing about Poshmark is that's impossible for me to do. So I just told him that, sorry, that's not how Poshmark works. And I just shipped it out. I never heard back from him, but I just shipped it out, and I got, rated and got my money and everything like that. So I'm sure everything worked out okay. Next up on Posh, vintage Oshkosh little overalls. I've had these listed for a while, and I was just glad they were gone for $13. These are made in the USA, but you want to kind of keep a lookout for Oshkosh vintage little overalls like this, not necessarily the denim ones, but the little corduroy ones and the ones printed with little patterns, because some of those are crazy money, like $100. So look, corduroy with roses, or like a little design on them, and those can do really, really well. Next up, a pair of Olakai shoes. Got these at Goodwill, I remember, not that long ago. Paid $5 to $6, and they sold for $40 on Poshmark. And the last Poshmark sale was this Greek style hat, another hat we picked up at the bins at our little clearance center, and it was by Epic. It got some interest. It had this fisherman cap look, and it was made of wool, and we took a $19 offer on that. Moving over to Ruby Lane, they had a little sale, like a 25% off sale, and I didn't put that much into the sale, but this little chain Monet, it's like you call it like a blank bracelet to be a charm bracelet, or you can call it a starter bracelet, and I sold it for $15. Sorry, let me go up. I'm not used to my face being on this side, so I have to keep an eye on that. Okay. Anyway, that was by Monet. And then the other sale I had that week, this sold really quickly. It's an Austrian enamel candle holder. It says email, right? And I'll show you the mark. It takes a minute for the picture to load. But that's what it says. It's like email. I'm sure that's not how you pronounce it. Studio Steinbach, handmade in Austria. Anyway, it was really, really pretty, but it was tiny. And I looked at like selling prices on eBay, and it wasn't super high. So I just threw it on Ruby Lane for $9, and it sold overnight. Next up on Etsy, and the metal and tweed shop that my husband is still kind of mostly in charge of, were these bookends that I picked up. I love picking up substantial bookends. These were metal. The brand was PMC. Let me see if we get a picture. It just says PMC. That's it on the bottom. Philadelphia Manufacturing Company. Okay, that's what that stands for. And we sold those for $65, and I believe they went overseas, if I am not mistaken. Also sold this little money clip. And I know we picked this up recently. Oh man, I was thinking of it when I was putting this together. I was like, I know where we got this. It wasn't that long ago. It might have been on our road trip, or it was more recent than that, like out of town thrifting though. But anyway, this sold for $24. And then I had a sale in my Flatware store. I still haven't really done anything with the Flatware store as far as like moving things out of it and shutting it down. I'm just kind of letting it sit because I haven't really had time to think about it. But I sold another one of these hamburger flippers. So I've sold actually 3 of them of the 4. So that's not bad. And I sold a Foley one, which I think is the only one I have left. These first 2 were identical. So I sold one of them. And I have, as you can see, just one of them left. And it sold for $18. It's a spatula, but it's really wide. It's good for like pancakes or hamburgers. Had a pattern sale for $14. This is a Vogue pattern. It's plus size, just for blouses for $14. And then this pattern for Raggedy Ann and Andy sold for $20. And this was a pattern I listed actually fairly recently, like the week it sold. I think I had listed it that week. So $20, that's a good Raggedy Ann pattern to kind of keep your eye out for, because it's 4 sizes and they can make them as big or small as they want. And I think if we go down, you can see the feedback I got from, and she sent a picture of the 2 dolls that she made. She made them for her granddaughter, and then she recommended me as a seller. Isn't that nice? Okay, and I believe that is it for my sales for the week. So, what do I have to say to you? Just to finish up, to say thank you so much. As always, please be sure to leave a comment, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and I will have another What Sold video. I'm just kind of playing catch up on those. I will be out of town next week, so I'm going to try to get some things ready to go that can go live, not go live, but can be posted while I'm gone. So hope you guys had a great week. As always, leave a comment of your best sale of the week or something that you sold that has a story, and feel free to share those in the comments below. Anyway, thank you guys so much, and we will talk to you later.